All right, that name that I chose for myself, that might be a little fruity. But welcome. It's 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I think it's a good time for me to stream right now because I did finish up the last stream a couple hours ago after finished recording. Still haven't started editing yet. I still haven't jumped into the research for the next thing yet. Just been kind of procrastinating for the past couple hours. And yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for me to turn the camera on myself and just kind of share the sort of thoughts that I've been having. Um, yeah, last month in June, right? Mid June, I talked about certain material that I consider kind of second channel worthy. And maybe some, yeah, I think a lot of the stuff I talk about on stream is second channel worthy. It started streaming that I was just gonna laugh at videos, reaction videos, then also can do a bit of my research, outlining and stuff. And yeah, so first thing I want to share, this is about to be really productive because first thing I want to share is this kind of letter I wrote myself that ChatGPT helped me write myself. I don't know if I want the ChatGPT tab open right now, but because I have some research to do, so I don't want unnecessary tabs and stuff open. Anyway, the point is, what I was reading this letter that I wrote myself to read after 30 days and 60 days, so, and I wrote it in June. So I read the 60-day note, even though it hasn't been 60 days, but it still pertains because it's about creativity. And 2 months ago in May, I was also still doing this, so it still pertains. Basically, I should bring it up so I can read it because I can't really paraphrase that well off top of my memory. But basically, it was like chasing the consistency. Both components of inspiration and consistency are equally important. Consistency is doing the outlining, doing the video recording, which I did this morning. Then I still have to do the editing, and then yeah, do the next one. Start doing the next one, and so yeah, I don't really feel any reason to procrastinate this morning. I don't know. Maybe I just feel a little lost because, yeah, I thought that this little dead vape here would give me one or two nice hits, but no, I'm not high. And so that kind of disappointment of expecting to be a little high, a little disappointed there. So yeah, nothing I can do about that right now. A little broke right now. Nothing I can do about this. That's okay. I don't care. It's 8 a.m. Don't really care to smoke. It's just I think there's just a reverse psychology part of me that wishes that this could give me a nice hit. That was a very small hit. Anyway, this is not what I wanted to do on camera. I wanted to get myself to listen to what some of these people have to say about Doctor Who and compare it to some of my thoughts. So the first one I'm going
There's
to
been a
watch.
lot of fantastic series openers since Doctor Who returned to screen in
Yes, there have been.
2005. But which one is the best? For me, I think the answer has always been
11th Hour?
Series 5's charming yet epic first episode, The 11th Hour.
Love it.
The debut of not only Matt Smith's incredible turn as the Doctor, but Amy, Rory, and new TARDIS, and most importantly, a and new direction for the show, The 11th Hour has stood the test of time to remain the best series opener.
Yeah,
Even
I
though
agree.
some serious contenders in the years after, not to mention some of the excellent magic previous showrunner Russell T Davies was able to conjure, 10 years on, this episode still manages to leave me in awe. What did Stephen Moffat and the team in front of and behind the camera do that made this episode work so well? What did it tell us about the newly appointed Doctor, his companion, and the wonderfully reinvented world of Doctor Who through the lens of Stephen Moffat?
Wonderfully
Here's why The 11th
reinvented.
Hour
Yep.
is the best opener of Doctor Who ever. It's no secret that Stephen Moffat had some big shoes to fill taking over as showrunner.
Yeah, we know that.
The audience of youngsters, including the now
Audience of youngsters.
shift going into what would be Moffat's freshman year of the show.
Amelia Pond, like a name in a fairy tale.
The 11th Hour makes Doctor Who a fairy tale.
It does.
When we first meet Amy Pond, she's lonely little Amelia Pond, a girl who, much like any character in a fantasy, surrogates. And what a character arc. We learn that Amelia Pond doesn't really have anyone, and that she's scared of an eerie crack in her wall. The Doctor comes into her life as that parental voice of reason and comfort.
You know, grown-ups tell you everything's going to be fine, and you think they're probably lying to make you feel better.
Yes.
Everything's gonna be fine.
I love that he simultaneously reassures Amelia, but makes it clear this isn't going to be a walk in the park either. She's given the opportunity to see the stars and get the guidance she needs, and then in what might be the sweetest scene in the history of the show, she packs a teddy bear, a freaking teddy bear, and sits outside waiting for the wise old wizard to return. But he never came back that night. The Doctor and Amy are reunited.
I already knew he was gonna make the fairy tale sort of comparison, so I don't need to watch that much more of this video. But yeah.
But the fact that the 11th Doctor's final stand is referenced in his very first story is really neat.
Oh, and delete your internet history.
Our very first browser history joke, back when it was funny. Sorry, Moffat.
Back when it was funny, yeah.
The drain, it just sort of melted and went down the drain.
Well, of course it did.
That makes me giggle every time. Also, further points for super dramatic hopping over tiny chains. Ledworth is the perfect count Capaldi would later don. All this comes to a satisfying after the danger has passed. Smith's doctor picks out his clothes whilst talking down the head of the alien menace. Fun tidbit, amongst the clothes he doesn't choose in that pile, a red velvet coat that Capaldi would later don. All this comes to a
Okay, that's a fun fact, I guess. But that red velvet coat was mostly about the third Doctor. Okay, I'm gonna open up a Google Doc because I just kind of inspired myself to think of some points. Feeling of satisfaction when you randomly have a creative spark, random good one. Doctor Who Fights 8. And what's today? 7/12. There was one thing about Jodie Whittaker, how she was a little bit like the third Doctor in Legend of Sea Devils. I didn't say that in my video because I feel like that's kind of, I don't need to say that. It's kind of funny, I guess. All right, we have several other videos here to watch. Let's do it. And after that, got the right direction to go in.
Doctor Who is, and has always been, a series of highs and lows. The primetime BBC, the show is just an embarrassment.
What?
To costumes, no, that would just be taking basic pot shots.
The dark.
like a whole other thing. To this, and also probably a whole bunch of decisions from this to this.
Oh yeah, Doctor in Distress. Oh shit, I heard about this. Some how dark some of the Virgin New Adventure book gets.
I mean,
That's
this novel, The Seventh Doctor, lets Ace get section. There's some jobs of its own. And I'm not just talking about Love and Monsters, Fear, The Wedding of River Song, and Hell Bent. No. There was a very specific year where I had to reconsider whether I was too old.
Which year was
for
that?
Doctor Who. Yeah, too old. Too old, can you believe that? And that year was 2013.
I thought he was gonna say 2012.
Anniversary of the show.
I thought he was gonna say 2012.
I even made a video about it back into. Oh my god. I swear on Matt Smith's eyebrows that I did not like Doctor Who at all.
Really?
2 Series 7 Part 2. Coming off the back of some of my favourite episodes ever in Matt Smith's tenure, we have Clara Oswald. And let me put this straight, Clara is my favourite companion. Her first season, she is terrible.
All right, so far this guy Davis, I have watched him 7, 8, 9 years ago now. I've watched this guy. He comes out with some of the most baffling points I've ever heard. He said in 2013 he's not a Doctor Who fan, but then he said season 7 part 1 had some of the best episodes he's ever seen for Matt Smith's era. And then he said Clara's my favorite companion, but I didn't like her at all. In season 7 too. So I see where he's coming from. Season 7 too. Like they kind of make her overly important, and the Doctor's just chasing this impossible girl. Overall, like I have to say, season 7 part 2 is better than season 7 part 1. Personally, I think that doesn't mean I do like Town Called Mercy, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship's okay, forgettable a bit, but it's fun to watch sometimes. Rest kind of sucked to me. I don't care that much about the Time of Angels. Not is that what it's called? No, it's called Angels Take Manhattan. I don't care that much for it, but who cares what I think?
Year from the Snowmen onwards was just convinced that I loved twee Matt Smith, pretentious Clara, dependence on characters I never will grow to love. I'm sorry about that, I'm just not doing it. And about 6 anticlimactic endings.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
fair.
like Series 7 Part 2. I was growing tired of Moffat's mystery boxes. I hadn't warmed to the cast yet. And it seemed like every single episode was solved by a pretty speech or a Deus Ex Machina, episode after episode. Doctor in Distress, Doctor in Disenchantment, more like. For me, this is the worst run of New Who. But luckily, all I had to do was wait 3 more months. Doctor Who would come to the big screen. Day of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor, Nights of the Doctor, along with the assortment of other 50th anniversary videos, restored my faith completely. 3 of the show's
Yeah.
greatest episodes came out back to back.
Sure. Okay. No, so that was nice. Like I said, Davis just makes some crazy points, in my opinion. But I have a few videos of his queued up. Like I said, I was watching him 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago now. So this is actually unexpectedly bringing back some nostalgia of first being in college and feeling connected to other people that watch Doctor Who just a little bit. Nowadays, I feel connected to no one, but so this is gonna make me. The reviews are pretty personal so far that I've watched. As you can see, they're mostly just personal opinions, along with facts most of us already know. But yeah, it's just the touch of just being a guy that talks about it because he likes it or cares about it. Just the touch of that. Just being yourself. Yeah. So got several more videos here. Who do I watch next? Do we watch Council of Geeks next, or do we go to Harbo Holmes or Holmes? Or do we go to Mr. TARDIS? Or do we go to Stu Bagful? Low key. I only have one. I have 2 Stu Bagfuls, but the other one is 45 minutes. I'm probably only going to watch a little bit of it. I'll go to Council of Geeks. I don't like watching him that much. I respect some of the things he say. Sometimes I think his presentation is a little bit sloppy. So I don't watch Council of Geeks because he watched a lot of classic Doctor Who after I watched it. So I already had my opinions and stuff by the time Council of Geeks reviewed a lot of classic Doctor Who. But let's this is a review for Flux, which I just talked about.
Before we get started, I feel the need to remind you that the news arm of the BBC ran a quote-unquote article on trans women containing misleading information and provable falsehoods, as well as platforming a woman who then went on to make a literal call for the genocide of trans women. And while that individual's
Damn.
comments have been stricken from the article, the BBC has yet to address the fact that they platformed her and has not disavowed or condemned her statements. You can find links in a pinned comment below for relevant videos if you do not know what I'm talking about. That being said, on with the show.
Okay,
Damn.
throws the division's plans off too much in a very vaguely defined way. Something about the Doctor generating too much hope. No real explanation as to why that is such a problem.
I said that.
The Doctor has not consciously been was supposed to be of the Timeless Child reveal. If the next time the flux is happening at the same time, they are getting out at the same
Yeah, I already know all this. Yeah.
conversational line between Yaz and Dan and Jericho, just noting something, explaining something. And honestly, I might have been okay with that. I've said in the past that I actually appreciate often if something isn't really worth devoting a ton of time to, a tossed off line, even a casual one, to just cover the hole real quick to make it clear that, yes, we understand that this is a thing. This is our Band-Aid over it. Let's move on because it's not that important. Whatever, would have somehow picked up a psychic essence to know when the world's going to end. Like that. I still like Jericho as a general.
I like
presence.
Jericho. Yeah.
Vinder has now just ended up. They're not even Time Lords. So, like, they're human. They could die as. And that's really what the Santarans feel like at this point.
Oh, what if the Doctor was a human?
We'll see what comes of it, but it
No.
really does feel like the entire Santaran invasion, despite it being the episode that I've liked the best so far this series, is just a thing that is happening in the same space.
I guess, but in the same point, I guess having the Ood there is also a thing that's just happening in the same space. So yeah, that's the last Council of Geeks. episode for a while. This account called Unleash the Ghouls made a video about
Let's
Sea
talk
Devils.
about Legend of the Sea Devils, the latest edition of Doctor Who, which is not only the penultimate adventure for Jodie Whittaker, but is also an on-screen return for one of the show's most famous.
Yeah, we know
I'm
this.
going to give my. But more than just the costume, the prosthetics blended with CGI come together quite well for the most part. I liked how they only focused the
said this.
CGI facial expressions on the main Sea Devil, with the background ones having just masks with blinking eye effects now and again, so as to spread out the effects budget a bit
Right.
more. However, that doesn't mean to say that this episode was flawless throughout. There were some excellent pieces here. The TARDIS at the bottom of the sea being a particular highlight, and the giant sea monster looks
Yes,
pretty good.
yes.
There were some excellent pieces here. The TARDIS at the bottom.
I said this. Ooh, I gotta screenshot this look. Wow. Of the Doctor and Yaz at the bottom of the sea ocean.
Sea being a particular highlight, and the giant sea monster looked pretty good, even though it reminded me of that massive fish from the Phantom Menace. But then there are other parts where the VFX look pretty clunky, such as Dan skipping the stones. Then when it comes to the episode design,
Yeah.
all the stuff on the beaches looked pretty good, but everywhere else felt remarkably mid-80s Who. Madam Ching's ship especially clearly had
No,
that
I liked
studio
it.
feel. And don't worry, I get it, Doctor Who doesn't have the biggest budget going in TV, but you'd think that...
No, I liked it. I thought this. I don't think it looked mid '80s. I thought the setting with the ice. It's not Icewood. With the Sea Devils underground ship base, I thought that looked great. I'm gonna screenshot.
TV, but you'd think that due to not running a full series in 2022, they'd at least be able to make some better tweaks throughout. On the whole, the production is fine, if a little stock in places. I mean, hey, it's a damn sight better than Warriors of the Deep, that's for certain. However, Legend of the Sea
Well,
Devils
it's
is
30 years
it's
later.
a perfect episode. In fact, it carries with it pretty much all of my Chibnall era annoyances, like a bloody who's who of his tropes. No pun. The sonic screwdriver, for
40
example, is used 3 times within the first minute of the Doctor on screen, which
So weird.
it's under my skin. It's just a get out of jail free card.
No, I don't care about that because in a penultimate episode, Planet of Fire, even Caves of Androzani, when it starts out, it doesn't feel like a penultimate episode. But then it escalates to one. So I didn't mind that having Jodie on the beach, blasting her sonic a little. Then it ends with. I wish the ending with Yaz and Dan like going to the beach. I wish that was more interesting of an ending because I loved going to the beach as a vacation, and they really wanted to as characters. So I wish that part of the story was more interesting.
Script writers. And as for the script, yet again we are presented with the bulk of the word count being dedicated to the Doctor flat out explaining all the context of what's going
I mean, yeah.
in general here contains so many predictable, overused, and forced jagged scripting. The Doctor and Yaz. Right, let's address that. Now, I know this has divided the fandom a lot. Enough in previous scenes that actually dragged down this ending from
Yep.
than him to go time hopping with Yaz for a bit where anything could have happened.
I wasn't gonna mention the Yaz and Doctor stuff in the review because I just didn't really care for it. All right, thanks, that reviewer, Unleash the Ghouls. Next up, let's watch. I have Harbo Holmes reviewing Beast Below. So yes, Beast Below was highly considering for a Doctor Who fights episode, and still could do that. So let's watch Harbo Holmes. Harbo Holmes? What should we do here? We have Stu Bagfull, Harbo Holmes, Davis, and Mr. TARDIS. 4 iconic Doctor Who reviewers. I low-key want to watch Davis right now because of the nostalgia that it just brought up from 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Yeah. Which one, though? Yeah, we'll watch his second Doctor one. But that is at 29 minutes. It might be dense, might have a lot of good information, so might need to save that one for a little later, a second. Looks like he has 2 12th Doctor videos that came out a year apart. I don't know why. I'm gonna watch both, I guess. Okay. But not right now. First, I think I should watch Harbo Holmes' Beast Below review. This is from 4 years ago.
The second episode of any television series is always one of the most important, because it can make or break the show by showing whether the momentum of the opening episode can be maintained over time. One of the prime examples of a disappointing second episode is Doctor Who's The Beast Below, where the Doctor takes brand new companion Amy Pond on a trip to the Starship UK, which is being carried by a star whale that is being tortured by the human passengers. Moffat wanted the episode to emphasise his fairy tale vision of Doctor Who, along with filling the narrative with philosophical and political commentary. However, The Beast Below has always been considered one of the weakest Series 5 episodes, and until very recently, even Moffat himself considered it the worst Doctor Who episode he had ever written. Indeed, not only is it forgettable, it's extremely rushed and padded, along with weak characters and a completely wasted imaginative setting. So what exactly makes this episode so disappointing and bad?
There's a more like you could also say that about Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. You could also say that that was a bit of a wasted. You could have showed more instead of just voided rooms and techno babbly, just bunch of wires and stuff in some rooms. Could have showed way more.
Redeem it? Well, saddle up on a giant space whale and make sure you have enough social credit to watch this video, because it's time to review The Beast Below.
I'm the bloody queen, mate.
I really like the starship concept behind this episode. I've always been fascinated by the idea of generation ships, giant vessels relying on generations of passengers to maintain it over the course of its journey, rather than cryogenically freezing them. It's always been one of my favourite sci-fi concepts, and there is a similar idea behind Starship UK, a Roman city of sorts in the same vein as Mortal Engines, except on a much bigger scale, since this is an entire nation. The backstory also makes a lot of sense within the world building of the episode. In the distant future, the Earth is partially destroyed by solar flares, so the only solution is fleeing the planet en masse and becoming a nomadic race as things settle down or people colonize other planets. In other words, going to the Winchester and waiting for everything to blow over. Therefore, it's to be expected that our Earthbound nations would remain, just being carried into the stars. Because what else would you do in this situation? There are limited ships and a couple billion humans to evacuate, so it is just easy to maintain nations. I feel like the steampunky aesthetic of the ship reflects this makeshift mass evacuation. This isn't some sleek, futuristic Star Destroyer. This is just something people have had to literally cobble together. So they would have had to have put in stuff that would just work, rather than stuff that looks cool. I think the whole idea of reverting back to bicycles and more stripped down yet reliable technology crafts a unique identity for both the ship itself and the people who live there, especially because you get Lancashire being the Death Star trash compactor, which makes me dread to think what happened to Kent, because it's bad enough already. The ship is a really good sci-fi concept, unlike anything we've seen before outside of maybe the Ark. So it's a shame that this didn't become the new Earth of the Moffat era, coming back for more adventures in such a distinctive location. The other key component of the Starship UK setting is
I would never think to compare. I've compared some episode to the Ark before. Was it a second? It had to have been a second Doctor episode. Might have been Time Heist. There's a few episodes you could compare to the Ark, but Beast Below did not cross my mind. So that's decent. Yeah.
political narrative it spins, showing us this dystopian society where people are allowed to vote on the Star Wars freedom every 5 years, but being punished unless they choose to forget the truth. I'll get into the specifics of this in a minute, but I do think this part of the story is a bit disappointing, because it suffers from Moffat's more fairy tale and child-friendly approach to Doctor Who. It doesn't fully embrace the horror of Starship UK society. I mean, it starts off promising with underperformance.
Look, but you said, we all know Moffat was going for a fairy tale vibe in Series 5. And I think that's why I enjoyed rewatching Beast Below. I know for a second episode, yes, it's fair that the general consensus is that for a second episode, it's crap. And for some people, the third episode, Victory of the Daleks, is crap. And so the era becomes very disappointing. But then it picks itself up for me. But no, yeah, that's just being critical. Yeah, like I said with the Whitaker review, it feels great when I can enjoy these pockets of Doctor Who when certain critics and stuff can make you a little jaded towards these episodes, sometimes for years. I don't consider Beast Below as bad as Fear Her or the other boring ones, Love and Monsters, bad ones. I like Beast Below last time I watched it. It was fun entertainment, sleepy time vibes, yeah.
Not having enough China social credit points to ride lifts, but it immediately ruins it with the unintentionally cringeworthy and laughable lift scene. How do you take this seriously when you've got a child reading out a poem and the absolutely awful looking Smilers? And don't get me wrong, I love a good Zoltar machine, but these look terrible. Unlike other distinctive Moffat monsters like the gas mask zombies or Vashta Narada, the Smilers don't fit the aesthetic of the story, feeling very out of place in this society. They don't look friendly when they're happy, but they also don't look intimidating when they're angry. They just look bad. And it's actually funny as the script turns to you and says, oh look, they have a third, evil face. Yeah, I bet you're terrified now, aren't you? It's obvious that they wanted these monsters to be nightmare fuel by straddling the line between harmless and evil, but they simply aren't either.
Not as scary as...
weak villain for the piece. And on top of that, we don't even know how their counterpart...
Not as scary as the Ninth Doctor, Boomtown, not Boomtown, Dr. Dance's... Was his name Dr. Constantine? The gas mask people. Was there a different name for the gas mask people? The nanobots, right? Nanogenes? Nanobots? Something like that.
The Android Secret Police, but Why are they part Smiler? It's just style over substance, rather than actually having interesting or scary villains. Even when they do pose a direct threat, Liz 10 just shows up and kills them instantly without even a chase sequence, which highlights the terrible pacing. No flow.
Whatever though, I'm not gonna expect a second episode of a season necessarily. Like at worst, it'll feel like a filler episode, a second episode of a season. I do see the importance of a second episode, but I guess I didn't in previous times. Let's think about other second episodes. Smile is a good second episode for series 10. Smile is. Into the Dalek. Into the Dalek is a good second episode for series 8. Under the no, what's it called? Under the Lake and Before the Flood. That is a good second two-parter for series 9. Ooh, unexpected appreciation for the Capaldi era there. Because Moffat would be like 3+ years as a showrunner by that point. But what other second episodes? Is Town Called Mercy a second episode? Because I like Town Called Mercy. It's decent. I think Town Called Mercy is a second episode. New Earth, it's cheesy in its own way. I don't necessarily care to rewatch it after all these years. Oh, I like End of the World a lot. I was considering rewatching that. I have the DVD somewhere next to me here of series 1. I was considering rewatching here it is, some of End of the World, but I've seen that a lot. But instead I rewatched Unquiet Dead. I love Unquiet Dead. I didn't rewatch all of it, but because I think it can bring up some depressing memories from the past, but it's for what it is, it's a great episode. Let's continue.
The story has no real structure, and Moffat seemingly couldn't find interesting ways to move from beat to beat, so the half-baked action scenes feel pointless and unnecessary.
It's okay.
Eve Furlow is notable for being Amy Pond's first trip in the TARDIS, floating up in space as the Doctor looks up her dress. Now, I appreciate the consistency of her still being in her nightgown because it maintains the tradition of other first outings in New Who, but the line of sight definitely makes this look a bit dodgy. No wonder Amy wanted to bonk it. It is a nice scene, though, driving home the spaceship capabilities of the TARDIS. I'll always love these kinds of visuals, seeing the wide expanse of space through those unassuming wooden doors, illustrating the vast possibilities of such an impossible time and space machine. Another significant part of this opening is Moffat driving home the Doctor's supposed non-interference policy. This is a really weird thing to establish, because it feels like Moffat only wrote it to fit the end of the episode, rather than to show an actual element of the Doctor's character.
Wait, which one?
Another significant part of this opening is Moffat driving home the Doctor's supposed non-interference policy. This is a really...
I thought that's fine. It's like, why did he bring up the Time War? The Time War is also relevant to the story. The Doctor not wanting a planet or civilization to die off, but didn't need to be referenced. But Time War reference in this episode was fine. Just like his non-interference policy, just like if he showed the psychic paper, it's fine. It's part of his character.
Weird thing to establish, because it feels like Moffat only wrote it to fit the end of the episode, rather than to show an actual element of the Doctor's character. The 11th Doctor doesn't become an incarnation synonymous with non-interference. It's only in the Snowmen much later that he tries to stay out of events. Every other time, he's more than willing to interfere. So what was the point of this, especially as Moffat subverts it literally seconds later?
You never interfere in the affairs of other people's or planets, unless there's children crying.
It makes absolutely no sense. Doesn't at all fit the tone nor writing of the show.
Whatever.
It just feels
It's
like
fine. It's fine.
It's Sherlock dialogue about silent crying, and parents not acting on
Whatever.
already see. The episode tries to be all clever about it. It's annoying and doesn't give the audience the chance to form their own. He's trying to show off how clever he is. This is about a minute's worth of dialogue telling the viewer what they have already seen. But the episode tries to be all clever about it. It's annoying.
Whatever,
I
man.
wonder what was happening, rather than the Doctor sitting there narrating the complexities of a glass of water on a spaceship immediately afterwards. Now, believe me, I do like Moffat. I think he is a great writer and has crafted some of the best Doctor stories of all time. But episodes like these show how insufferable his scripts can often be when he tries to be clever and flaunt it, since it actively takes you out of the experience and makes you feel like you have no power as a viewer. And of course, because this is Moffat, we even get a snarky child who knows it all.
Yeah, when your friend kept bumping into me.
Great, thanks a lot. You really couldn't resist shoehorning that in, could you? At least we get Magpie Electricals, which redeems this hunk of junk just a little bit, since I always like to production Easter egg whenever it crops up. But wait, Amy, oh no, you can't continue because...
There's a hole, we have to go back.
Is that where the actual competent and semi-decent episode went?
Pretty sure it fell in the hole.
In the meantime, the Doctor meets the mysterious Queen Liz 10.
I'm the bloody queen, mate.
Get it? She's the Queen, but she speaks like a typical Londoner. Isn't that quirky? Just ignore the fact that she's a figurehead of a dystopian police state. Look at the guns, not her being fine with underperforming children being fed to a whale or becoming slaves. At least they explain that she's just as in the dark as everyone else. having been held in a 10-year cycle of mind wipes so they can keep the charade up, even if she was the one who started this all to begin with. Yes, she's actually 300 years old, and also always chooses to forget Starwell. I find it strange the episode doesn't really explore the true extent of this horrifying Groundhog Day scenario she always finds herself in. She spends most of the time skulking around being paranoid of her own government, before repeating it over and over again. It makes her look a bit useless and borderline incompetent as a queen. Liz 10 also brings up another issue I have with the Moffat era. I mentioned in my 11th hour review that I didn't like the hero worship communicated through everyone in Ledworth knowing about the Doctor thanks to Amy's childhood stories. It felt strange because this is the beginning of a brand new era, so it feels redundant because it continues to perpetuate one of the most criticised cornerstones of the Russell T Davies era. And the difference is that era had actually built the characterisation. In the Moffat era, it goes out of its way to continue.
I don't mind it.
Actual slow build-up, and it's more blatant and on the nose than ever. It's 5 episodes, series 5, having characters gushing over the Doctor and saying how much they love him.
Yeah, I
It's more
guess.
irritating than the Davis era ever was when it comes to hero worship, because it's too forced, without that natural slow build-up, and it's more blatant and on the nose than ever. And also, there's nowhere else for me to talk about this line, but we see the return of the Planet of the Dead line almost verbatim.
You look human.
No, you look Time Lord.
I'm still not sure if I get it. Maybe I need another 200 identical comments explaining it to me.
Ugh.
Speaking of characters,
Yeah,
Amy is
some Doctor Who
surprisingly
fans
relaxed.
are some Doctor Who fans are some of the most annoying people. I know there's other fandoms like music where the fandoms are toxic, but Doctor Who's can be
This
toxic.
episode, which is strange because Moffat wrote it intending for her to save the day and prove herself worthy of being a full-time TARDIS traveller. However, it feels like any other companion could have been put in her place and it wouldn't make a difference, which feels shocking for the first proper adventure of a brand new companion. Obviously, Karen Gillan does well with the poor script she was given, but Amy really doesn't have much of a presence. She's just there to receive exposition after exposition because she doesn't yet know the Doctor as well as the audience does. And even this is massively inconsistent, since she seemingly already knows him well enough to make this big decision revolving around his age and kind nature. Remember, this is her first adventure, only maybe an hour after first stepping into the TARDIS. She barely knows him, so having this sudden wealth of knowledge makes the episode feel out of order with the rest of the series. The weird character dynamic extends to Amy being vilified for trying to protect the Doctor from being put in the impossible position of choosing between the entire colony ship and the last star whale in existence. She has only just started traveling with him. She doesn't yet know what he's been through with the genocide he's committed, so obviously she wouldn't be able to comprehend the importance of her decision. Yet the story actively makes her appear to be a bad person for this, which, in my opinion, feels counterproductive. However, I do like the scene as Amy finds out the history of Starship UK, even if someone in the production team can differentiate between 6 and 8.
1306.
You know, between this and Roy's ID being issued in 1990, I'm starting to think they had a toddler in the production team dealing with all the numbers. Anyway, the scene is quite chilling, serving as a horrific example of the ignorance of pseudo-democracy. People are given the choice to forget what they see or do something about it, and they always choose ignorance. They're happy to accept the totalitarian state because it keeps them alive. They know about the Starwell.
Okay, but I don't think it's fair when he said like Amy's kind of random knowledge. No, that didn't feel like out of nowhere. She saw the Doctor's actions and behaviors in this episode and the previous episode. So she's like, oh, if you were that old and you were that kind, you couldn't just sit and watch children cry. That didn't feel like out of nowhere. That felt like it worked.
The story. Now, I know I always get accused of being a Davis fanboy, but it's undeniable that he has always excelled with these biting political commentaries. Never shy of morality, the Doctor gets very angry at Amy for basically no reason.
I don't even remember.
Discovered and hate the human race for it. But it's nothing new. As I said, Planet of the Ood. Big alien brain being tortured and the Ood forced into slavery. He didn't try and kick Donna out of the TARDIS then, so why would he kick Amy out when she was forced to make an impossible decision on her literal first outing? What was she expected to do? She didn't decide for him. She was overwhelmed with something she didn't know how to handle. So him blaming her just feels wrong. And he doesn't even get called out now, since the episode leaves it to Amy to seemingly redeem herself. However, I do like the idea that he's in such an impossible position that he won't even call himself the Doctor after this story. Really selling you on the weight of such a decision, because it's that severe and significant. And luckily for the Doctor, there's the power of children. Since Amy has a convenient flashback realizing that the Starwell saving the planet was because it didn't want children to cry. How unbelievably Moffat of it. Yes, this entire... Indeed, that was trying to be really stark and illuminating with its political themes. Final shot. Moffat once again patting himself on the back for being so clever to be Sherlock in space, but instead of being clever, it just walks you through things you already know. The pacing is dreadful, feeling really rushed at the end, suddenly wrapping things up whilst leaving a lot of things hanging. It pulls its punches when it comes to action and excitement, so these moments feel wasted and pointless, because it doesn't commit to being a very ponderous, character-oriented episode. The political commentary is brilliant on paper and creates a great framework for the episode, but the details in the actual execution don't do it justice, so it flounders and peters out with a disappointing solution. Even though it isn't, The Beast Below feels like a Davis era episode awkwardly recycled for the Smith era, so it doesn't fit in with the stories around it, one of the only overtly political narratives in the entire Smith run, but it lacks the slickness and thematic weight these kinds of stories had in that previous era. It's simply style over substance, and despite being one of the shortest episodes in all,
I don't care. I like it. I like it.
And ends up very forgettable.
It's an example.
Also, I would
It's
probably
forgettable,
prefer
yes.
the D rank.
If you're pinpointing it, you're right. Style over substance is true. With how it could have gone deeper with its bigger, darker political thing, keeping the Queen in a constant loop of forgetting. But I think it deserves to be enjoyed for a small little filler episode. All right, which do we watch next? Do I go to Harbo Holmes next? Harbo Holmes again? Another 20-minute video? Or do I go to Davis? Firstly, I think I want to make it a little bit warmer in my apartment. It is on cool. I think I should watch Mr. TARDIS.
This review was made possible by the support of my patrons. Last episode, the Doctor uses her quick thinking and resources to escape from the advanced video de jour. As a result of the Doctor removing her conversion plate and being touched by Swarm at the same time, whilst being outside of the universe, this somehow manages to fracture the Doctor's existence into all of the subplots, with one Doctor being held by Swarm and Azure, threatening her with a life of torture as they're now in charge of the final flux, another Doctor infiltrating the Sontaran invasion of Earth 2021 AD with Bell and Carvanista. We also have a third Doctor who is reunited with Dan, Yaz and Jericho in Williamson's tunnels, and since the TARDIS is there, somehow, she can start making moves to prevent the final flux event, rescue Vinda and Diane trapped in Passenger, and defeat the Sontarans who be really personally happy that this absolute Chad was able to stop a universal extinction level event just because of how beefy he is. My boy. So yeah, because the But when we don't even get basic closure as to whether or not the universe itself is still around.
Fair. 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 Survivors of the Flux review from Mr. TARDIS.
This review was made possible by the support of my patrons. Patrons get my thoughts pre-Survivors of the Flux, the fifth and penultimate chapter in Chris Chibnall's grand experiment. And I'm really worried about the finale now.
Oh, it's
in
good.
hindsight, the piper was always going to have to be paid. We couldn't keep taking digressions in standalone stories which would tiptoe ever closer to the finale forever, especially with only 6 episodes and 3 specials in these production blocks. Now, don't misunderstand me here. I don't think Survivors of the Flux is the worst Doctor Who ever. Not even close. It's not even the worst of this era so far. But it does feel like one of the most empty episodes of Doctor Who. A lot of moving around, a lot
Empty?
of set pieces and elaborate sequences of events, but with very little actual point underlying it. And the points it does seem to be making appear to be entirely unintentional.
I enjoyed it more than I did
A
last time.
concrete point of reference. It is just buzzwords and generalities. Division is simple.
Yeah, I guess.
About when I say that the Timeless Child and the Revised Origin has never made a case for itself to the audience. The Doctor here meets her adopted mother, and there's nothing in the text to explore this dynamic outside of a comparison between Tecteun and the Ood and the Doctor with her companions, possibly inferring subconsciously perhaps the Doctor takes more easily manipulated human companions across time and space as a response to Tecteun's abuse of her as a child. Now, are Jodie Whittaker and Barbara Flynn doing their best with the material?
Yes.
Absolutely. They are brilliant and electric in this scene. It's very sensitively directed, the setting is great, but there's nothing on the page.
Fair. He's right. He's right. What are you going to compare it to? The allegory for how the Doctor... I just said, what if the Doctor was human? The allegory for how the Doctor picks up people. That's all there is. Yeah, fair. No subtext. No depth.
And when you knew the truth, you'd never stop hunting.
She says the Doctor gives people hope, but how does this relate to divinization? Then why is it only Tecteun here? Is this why the Master destroyed... It's not meant to make sense because what matters is just getting them here for the cliffhanger. People took issue with Orphan 55 ending with the Doctor basically turning to the camera and saying, yes, this is what the episode is about. I would rather have that than have the Doctor look at the camera and basically say, I have nothing to say here. This episode is not about anything. This subplot, this plot strand, I have nothing on my mind.
Bro said it's not supposed to make sense.
You probably never knew about me. I'm a massive goddamn Whovian. I've seen most classic stories, and I'm a follower of Big Finish, the book. It's one of the most polarizing fan bases out there. The fresh air, constantly experimental with character. Swap spent his time in the TARDIS, doubting if he's a good man, doubting his sanity, finding his rocket aesthetic, found Gallifrey, on that later. Spending millennia trapped in hell, only to lose his best friend and wife for mere episodes later. Relationship advice. The Doctor's 40 years with River have changed it, but it's just not the kind of man to show it. First up, deep breath. Deep breath. Deep breath. Deep breath. A dinosaur is inconsequentially dropped in Victorian London, which means the fucking us the gang.
Inconsequently, yeah. Sleep No More is bad.
The episode fires at Pompeii. Moffat pushes these goddamn characters some more, and Clara gets sad because the Doctor isn't pretty anymore. Really? Oh yeah, I forgot about the T-Rex outside. Really feels like that should be a more pressing issue. Terrible intro to 12 that luckily improved. Thank Christ. Next up, the most famously aged episode in recent history.
What's Crying Terror?
Including expanded universe in here. And that's like the book. And the great thing about the novels is that you can tell stories that the BBC never could on their 7 p.m. budget. The Doctor fighting giant lobster spiders, though? Not exactly what I had in mind.
He put Kill the Moon in best.
Like, I could just swap out and imagine a different Doctor saying the bland lines, and it would make no difference. Straight out of the pertwee 1970s, with Nazi scientists, monster shows, and every cliche in the book, this is Doctor Who on autopilot.
Alright, Davis, sir. Who in their right mind puts Kill the Moon in top 5 12th Doctor stories? I have to hear this.
Finally, Last Christmas. The Doctor saves the grieving widow Clara from...
Yeah, we know Last Christmas is pretty stupid.
Then it's okay that Last Christmas has so few ideas of its own, because it mentions in the episode how unoriginal it is.
Yeah.
Because you say it doesn't make it not true.
Yeah.
Exchanging one movie parody for another, this episode has genuinely nice character development that is plagued by a vague, oddly paced plot and a crazy tonal shift. Its biggest crime, though, making me realise that Nick Frost isn't really that good of an actor. Believe that negative, you've doorstep. Yes, 5 must-watch Capaldi episodes. Some of the best content we've gone from New Who yet.
Kill the Moon. No.
The second half may lose the plot slightly, but Doctor Who is at its best when it's a base under siege.
Yeah, it's good.
Doctor's got
This is good.
something to do. Put him in an environment, let him do his magic. It's not an obvious significant episode, but this is top-tier Doctor Who trade.
Good.
Clara and 12 are on the top of their game here, dialogue-wise, and the Doctor is just as interested in clueless as the audience are. So watching him work out clues in real time is very, very rewarding.
Good point. A good point.
Flatline. I'll say it straight up. Flatline is a gimmick episode. Hey, let's shrink the Doctor down into a little box and have Clara gets played Doctor. But even in this solid budget episode, this episode's packed with some great visuals, abstract villains, and the moment that cemented Capaldi as the Doctor for everybody. If you see the Doctor and Clara swap roles and learn to appreciate each other, please, let's just give writer Jamie Matheson more episodes, please. Kill the Moon. Okay, so this one isn't worldwide adored, but by far my favourite Capaldi episode. Hear me out, I'm going to defend this episode till I die. Here we have a moral test disguised as a standard Monster from Space episode. I love the Doctor detached as this distant alien figure, and halfway through this episode, the Doctor up and literally leaves Clara in the middle of it.
So useless.
This is the very first instance the Doctor has been trustworthy and unpredictable in the movie. You can usually don't have to do that, that's for sure. Clara's outrage at the end is expertly acted and 100% serves his character, making for one complex, scientifically inaccurate, bold episode for New Who. Imagine how less than an episode this would be with Eccleston and Masterpiece swimming around the place. The Zygon inversion. The Doctor and Fangirl are bombed out of the sky, while Octopus Clara continues to wage war against the planet Earth. How often does Doctor Who go global? Like, huge scale on an average BBC budget. How cool is it having UNIT properly back in Doctor Who? Very. And this episode's climatic finale is entirely performance-based, as Capaldi delivers the greatest moment of acting and character in possibly all of Doctor Who. It's so good that it completely overshadows the episode itself. It's a must-watch.
Yeah, it was alright. Yeah. Alright, we have a few more videos here. We have some Stu Bagfull, a couple more Harbo Holmes, one more Mr. TARDIS, and a couple more Davises. I think we should go to Davis again, his other 12th Doctor video.
I already missed the 12th Doctor. For reasons I don't understand, the Capaldi era is fairly unpopular and apparently even controversial. He's too old, he's too liberal. Moffat ruined his Doctor. You won't be getting any of that cynicism here. Before Capaldi's inception, his Doctor received some interesting criticisms. The promise of leaving the romantic traveler pretty boy trope behind.
Shut up.
Going back to Doctor Who Basics is a premise that alienated some.
Shut up.
I've been excited, the diehards. And
Idiot.
I laid somewhere in the middle. Moffat and Capaldi have really experimented with the character. They've taken him further than any previous incarnation would dare go. 12 spent his time in the TARDIS, figuring out if he's a good man, doubting his own sanity, finding his rocker aesthetic, finding Gallifrey. Yeah, more on that later. He's been vengeful, he's been untrustworthy. He's lost his best friend, his wife, his intellectual equal, without any Tennant theatrics needed. And yet, character development is still quite subtle with the 12th Doctor. Probably because he's one of the best actors this series has ever had. He's been dramatic, he's been romantic, but if I had to put him into a category...
Yeah, no. A character development for 12th Doctor is not subtle. It's not subtle. It's not subtle. 12th Doctor's character development is not subtle. No.
The grumpy space grandpa. Someone once made a very funny joke that they could have a multi-Doctor crossover episode with Series 8, 12, Series 9, 12,
Yeah,
and Series 10,
I
12,
remember
because
this.
they're all so different. He's gone from abandoning his friends and empathy flashcards to dishing out real-life relationship advice. The character came so far, and I would have taken 6 more seasons. So I'm going to preface this video by being upfront. This Christmas I said goodbye to my favorite Doctor and my favorite showrunner. I think this is the greatest era of the show. Series 8 is my masterclass, my Bible on how I think
No.
Doctor Who should be approached and handled. Series 9 is a short collection of pretty good episodes, and Series 10 is passable. Just passable. But that is already so much more consistent than the era of Tennant or Matt Smith. And even when the episodes are bad, Capaldi is so compelling. I recognize Stephen Moffat has turned a lot of people off the show in the past, me included.
I mean, Series 8, I don't remember as fondly as I did in previous years. That being said, when I reviewed some of the episodes like Time Heist, I reviewed, what else did I review? Yeah, and rewatched Forest of Night and stuff like that. Some of them, yeah, worth rewatching, yeah, but I would not call Series 8. I wish I enjoyed it as much as I did when it came out in 2014. And yeah, there's some enjoyment value, but I can't say it's one of the best.
Back in 2013, I uploaded this and almost dropped the show. Peter Capaldi followed the worst series of all time. I was worried because he had inherited the showrunner, the sense of humor, the production team, and the companion that I all hated. But almost immediately, Stephen Moffat cut out all the pretentiousness and the "ran you clever boys" of season 7, and somehow made Clara Oswald interesting. Going from my least favorite companion to my favorite companion of all time. All we had to do was give her the right Doctor. So even if you're not the biggest fan, I think you'll start missing Stephen Moffat and his influence. They're to really stand out as some striking episode you must watch. It is. And lastly, Twice Upon a Time, the final Capaldi story. The Regeneration episodes are always the best. This one went for subtly morose instead of that or this. God, Capaldi really wouldn't have suited a big fuck-off cinematic story. Instead, his final adventure is a multi-Doctor episode with no villain, where he gets his faith in the universe restored. Once I realized the route the story was taking, I was invested. The final 20 minutes makes this one of the standout episodes of all Who to me. What a great way to respectfully write off the character and also show that Moffat had one really good story left in him. This episode is my defense when I hear people say that Moffat didn't understand Doctor Who. Stephen Moffat...
I can't say that I think, in retrospect, that I think Twice Upon a Time is really good. Maybe it's a great viewing experience the times I've watched it, and the last time I enjoyed it, there were some tear-jerking moments for sure. For me, I can't say it's a great, brilliant episode though, but I enjoy it. I enjoy Twice Upon a Time. I'm considering reviewing it, but might only have a few minutes of material on that subject.
It's a self-referential show of a fandom who cared passionately about little details.
Yeah,
Moffat understood that the Doctor wasn't a warrior.
That's what it means to be a Doctor.
And most importantly, he understood that although Doctor Who was a show for everyone, it meant so much. It took on a completely different purpose for young children. And that couldn't be more true. Now, the first Doctor's misogyny was a gag, okay? I think everyone got way too hung up on that. But overlook that as the joke that it is. And there's quite a respectable portrayal of the first Doctor here. It's nice to see the new series and the old series moralities collide. And no, I don't mean modern-day political values. I'm talking about what the show has become. Like the Doctor being this grandiose figure, in comparison to the gentleman of the universe. A perfect, underplayed ending, beat by beat. And how great is it that 12's last lines are conveying Stephen Moffat and Peter Capaldi's real-world thoughts about the character in pop culture. In the dialogue itself is their goodbye, and they both had to move on. Something I can never do, please, I need 12 back. But it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. Here's like the 5 bad episodes Capaldi had, from a very, very biased fan. Lie of the Land. Lie of the Land is one of the rare few stories to make me legitimately mad. The Monk trilogy was weird and exciting, until the third part dropped the ball and reduced the plot to nonsense. An oddly paced episode that spends 1/3 on technobabble, 1/3 on a cheap regeneration fake-out, and 1/3 on talking about doing things rather than actually doing them. Oh, and don't forget, the day is saved by love. There's almost some interesting stuff hidden in there about propaganda, brainwashing, and fake news. But God, don't actually say it. Don't actually say fake news. Subtlety, Moffat. It was a shame that the Monk trilogy was so all over the place. It was too muddled to appreciate, because it was so apparently clear that every episode was too different to create a concise trilogy. It reeks of a better episode tacked onto an existing story, with mad filler. Also, fuck Bill's mum. Sorry, had to get that out there. Fuck Bill's mum. we were 10 episodes deep into series 10 at this point, and Bill just had not blossomed into a good developed character. Next is probably the most infamous story in the show's history, Hellbent. Now, although this is a common and easy target, I actually found myself not livid last time I watched it. With a couple of improvements, the first half hour is great season finale. And then Moffat has his priorities in the wrong place. Fans are hell-bent on ripping this episode a new one. Maybe because it came after one of the best stories we've had in years. Maybe because you'd already dealt with your companion in an overly dramatic...
What did I say about Hellbent? Yeah, I kind of agree that some of the first 30 minutes or however long is fine, some of the first half hour. Then it just gets kind of unwatchable as it escalates with Clara and me. And the other Time Lords, just unwatchable. Almost like what showing a time Invasion of Time does to Deadly Assassins.
And we didn't need a whole other episode of it. Or maybe it was because after 9 years, 9 seasons, the Doctor was standing on Gallifrey, something you've established as the goal of the series for the next 50 years. Whom in? And it doesn't matter. Quickly, the Doctor remembers, oh yes, I actually hated these people, and goes and talks about Clara some more. Capaldi's Doctor is also very good at the quiet rage of the authoritative ranting, the speeches. He's not good at throwing a tenant rager. It doesn't suit the actor, it doesn't complement his incarnation. Rassilon defeat here. It's a good scene. Context. In context, it is the worst scene. It is probably the most infuriating, disappointing episode Doctor Who has ever done. And although it's got some imaginative ideas of its own, I'm not gonna give this a pass just because it wasn't as bad as I remembered. Really, you could devote an entire season to the Time Lords. Season 10 could have been primarily Time Lord antagonists. But no. Hellbent. Cinematography's good though. Number 3, Sleep No More. The only one-parter from Series 9 is a giant fucking letdown. And it does make you think.
Sleep No More, every time that I've sat through Sleep No More, I've fallen asleep. I can't remember how this story ends. I think I remember the Sandman song, but literally every time I go to watch Sleep No More, I fall asleep. That used to happen when I would watch, what's that story? The Time Meddler. I'm sure there's other Doctor Who stories I could think of that make me fall asleep. What was that one? The dinosaurs one? Invasion of Dinosaurs, is that what it's called? From the Third Doctor era? Yeah, I like it in retrospect, but not the most exciting episode, but it's alright at times, yeah. Alright, we have a few more stuff here. We have a Davis, a couple stew bagfuls, and Mr. TARDIS, and a couple Harbo Homes. Thinking we should go to Harbo Homes. I'm gonna watch his Flux review, yeah. Yeah, I'm making good time here, guys. After we watch this Harbo Homes Flux review, then I have a Stu Bagful Flux review. Of course, with both these reviews, I just reviewed them on camera, so I'm not really going to go too in-depth into the videos. But let me take a bathroom break real quick, maybe grab a water. Yeah. All right, guys. So that was really productive this past hour. How long's it been? 53 minutes. of getting this momentum going here a little bit, trying to finish this review here a little bit. And yeah, I think I'm gonna take myself here a little break. And yeah, guys, see you next time.